Hello everybody, and welcome to ZookaMan Streaming, where I get you and your replays to be casted for my entertainment, and hopefully to help you improve a little bit as well. I'm your host, ZookaMan, and we're going into a PVZ. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our players. So, starting off with the Red Protest player, Core Fille, not sure exactly what that's supposed to be. Spawning in at the bottom right, I believe. And his opponent on the opposite of that, we have Scribble as the blue Zerg player. So, PVZ matchup. What do we see in PVZ matchup right now? Well, I'm going to start with the protest side of things. From the protest side of things, we're seeing a lot of, obviously, the Fortress expand. We also see the one gate expansion, both of which are viable options, with the Fortress expand being a little bit safer than the one gate expansion. And it gets up the natural usually a little bit earlier as well. And sorry guys, I'm getting a little bit of distraction here because there's some text going down, and that's kind of the most annoying thing to have as a caster. But anyways, Scribble going to be getting down his natural hatchery, which means we're going to be seeing a little bit of a later pool behind that, and indeed we're going to be seeing the pool drop down right about now. Would love to see him grab gas, and there we go, like clockwork. Really, really good on that side of the field. Fille going to be going up for a Nexus, and that probably is Fille. I really, really hope it's not Fille, because then I will look like a jerk by saying Fille all the time. With that being said, Gateway is going to be coming out for Fille at this point. I'm probably just going to go Fille. That just seems a little bit more enjoyable to say. And you guys know me, all about the enjoyment. Hatchery is going to be coming up on its respective side of the field. At this point, we do have queens coming out on the field, but nothing really too different from what you normally would be seeing out of the matchup from either one of these players at this point in the game. A couple of scattered queens are coming out as well. Once again, nothing really too against the normal. Something to point out here from the map standpoint, this is a really short choke point. Really short choke point. Which is kind of strange, and actually you might even like to see Fille put down the pylon like here-ish, because he kind of has... That's actually like a pylon like here, and maybe a cannon here, just to kind of make this opening a little bit smaller so he doesn't have to go for two zealots to kind of cover it up. Just a sort of tidbit. Meanwhile, when we're seeing Scribble go up on a third base now, a little bit risky in that regard, because that is a really quick third base. Metal boost is just now starting up from Scribble at this point. We do have a few drones coming out to help saturate as well. Would love to see a Overlord come out and then see a huge round of drones once the supply kicks in for him. Fille going to be taking his gases at his natural expansion. A little bit low on the harvester, counting his minerals for that. And meanwhile, we're going to be seeing the Zealots scour around. A little bit odd to see that, and the wall off isn't really complete. That's at least... That actually might just barely be complete. That might be able to let a Zerg single file in through there. And the Zergling might be able to get in there. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and find out if Scribble can figure that out. Meanwhile, we have Sark coming out from Fille in the back of his main base. Happy, happy fun times. And we see Scribble going up on his roaches as well. And we're going to be seeing him get an evolution chamber as well, and for some reason, oh, he's talking about the drone that's still in his base. I'm assuming Not entirely sure as regards to that. Warp Tech is about 3/4 of the way done here. We are going to be getting some probes on this mineral line a little bit as well. Stargate is just now finishing up. We're going to be seeing a Phoenix opening coming out from him, as opposed to going for that early Oracle, which I would actually kind of like to see a double Oracle, and then run down to like the third over here, and get a little bit of damage done. I guess the Stargate isn't really going to come up fast enough for the Oracles to be as effective as they could have been, so I guess maybe a couple of Phoenixes might be a better idea. If he had been able to hit a window here while this third base was coming up, and he didn't really, and Scribble wasn't able to afford the SCVs, or the drones, you guys know what I mean, wasn't able to afford the spore crawlers, is actually what I was trying to say. But now he is going to have those up, which means that the Oracle's probably not a good idea. Phoenix is even going to get taken on by the Queen. Fille going to be going up into Void Ray production now, which is kind of curious. And it's also going to be going up onto his third base. Honestly, I don't agree with the Void Ray production, because of the fact that it just doesn't... Honestly, from him, I would rather see the gas going to Sentries or going to Robo for robotics as opposed to the Void Ray, because as far as we know from Scribble, it looks like he's going to be going into a Roach Hydra. He already has the Roaches down, and I'm assuming that the layer is going to be coming up to also go for the Hydralisk. So, if that's the case, then the Void Rays will be shut down fairly easily against those Hydralisks, especially if there's a low number of Void Rays, high number of Hydralisks. So, I would much rather see a few Immortals mixed in here to deal with the Roaches, and then a focus more on his Gateway army to help take care of the rest, or even go into Colossus Tech at that point. Either which would be a good idea. Here we're going to see the Zerglings are going to be able to get into the main base here, and they're going to be able to get a scout off. Going to be seeing that the Zealots, or that the Void Ray production has started, and they are going to get a few kills off in that pro line as well. So Scribble going to be doing, excuse me, Scribble going to be doing pretty good at that fact as well. He's also going to be going up onto his Spire Tech, as well as dropping down a Hydralisk Den on top of that, which is kind of strange, but he is taking a fourth base, so he should have enough to be able to do that. Meanwhile, we're already seeing Fille go up on his Twilight Council as well as his Robotics Tech, which is kind of interesting to put some Void Rays in the army here to go into that. Meanwhile, we have the Phoenixes running around getting a few Overlord kills, not really going to be doing as much damage as I'm sure they could have if they had come in a little bit later. Meanwhile, we're missing 1-2 coming out from our Zerg player, as well as that Muscular Augments for the Hydralisk speed. Meanwhile, Phoenixes are going to poke into this third base just to make sure. Creep Shred from Scribble is actually not that good at this point. He's not connected to his natural expansion, though could be solved by another Creep Tumor over here. And his natural expansion isn't really connected to his third, so if he needs to get units out, especially the Roaches, which are really, or not really slow, but they're fairly slow, without creep, I would much rather see him connect those, so he's going to be in a better position. But we're seeing an Infestation pick coming out from him as well, so my bet from this is that we're going to be seeing a Hive Tech coming out. That would be my best guess, because I don't really necessarily see our Zerg player going up onto like Ultralisks or going into Hive Tech. Yeah, that's wow. I just can't believe I just said that. Okay, so my thoughts are kind of wandering here on this cast, guys. But what I was trying to say was I am more likely. I think it's going to be more likely to see the Hive Tech as opposed to going for the layer or the Hive for the 3/3 upgrades, or similar to that. yeah. Meanwhile, we do have our Protoss player going up onto Colossus production. One Colossus is already started. Thermal Lance is coming out on the way as well. Meanwhile, Fille is deciding that he's going to go out and going to be attacking in this 4th base, which honestly is relatively undefended. Meanwhile, we are seeing Hive going to be put out as well for the Zerg player. He's going to kind of camp up here in his main base. The Overseer is going to come into this base over here. Actually going to die in supply dock Scribble, but he's going to get the changeling off. Meanwhile, we're seeing Fille moving to this base over here, the 4th base, I believe, and he is going to be pretty much killing everything there. He's going to actually even get a force field off to be able to block off those Hydralisks, which is a pretty good thing. Fille gonna snipe the base, gonna back up. He does have a Roach Hydra Ball gonna be coming up to intercept there, and he doesn't really have the Colossus numbers. Oh no! Oh no! He's actually not even on attack move, so those are gonna get a lot more damage done than they could have. Force Field is gonna come up to force the units forward a little bit, and he should be perfectly fine. Scribble doesn't really have a whole lot to deal with this. 12 more Hydralisks going to be remacroed here to help defend against this. Meanwhile, Scribble kind of pushing in a lot further than I would like to see from him, to be perfectly honest. We do have the Void Ray is going to be slowly falling here. And actually, Hydros are going to be remacroing really well here. Going to be getting a lot of the damage done on the tech. Going to be sniping the Sentry most of all. Going to be sniping the Void Rays. And I believe they got an Immortal on that run as well, which is really good. Meanwhile, they're coming down here to this 3rd base. And they're going to say, no 3rd base for Protoss. And they're going to take that out fairly handily. Meanwhile, our Protoss player is just now falling back with the Stalkers that he has. Does have a Photon Overcharge, but I don't think that's going to be too big a problem. However, the 3 Colossus are, and those are going to melt away the Hydralisks. And we're going to be seeing Corruptor production going to be added on as well. But this Hydralisk Ball shouldn't really... Oh, actually going to get up on the Colossus. Going to do quite a bit of damage there. But the Stalkers falling back shall probably get that for him. You know, we see Hatchery going to be retaken back up to this 4th base. Fille going to be going up onto Storm Tech. Guys, this 4th base up and operational. And we're going to be seeing Enduring Locusts come out from Scribble at this point, which on the map, this map is kind of a really weird map for Swarm Hosts. I suppose you could put Swarm Hosts like down in this area, down here, and then have them break through the wall here over to the 3rd. But besides that, there's not really any really good positions for them to be in, because if they're like over this way, they have to go all the way down in order to get to this base. Hold that thought. We're going to be seeing Scribble move in a little bit with a few units he has. Actually needs to get back because a couple of force fields and those Colossus will be able to take out that army fairly handily in that choke point. Not to mention, Storm actually isn't on the map yet, but yeah, Colossus are going to just rip this apart. He's going to stop those pylons. You're going to be seeing Vipers added on as well at this point. 3-3 going to be coming up on the way. Enduring Locust, about a quarter from being done now. 5th base coming up from Scribble as well. Looking over at the income tab, we have 87 to 74 Harvesters in favor of our Protest player, which is not really a good position to be in as a Zerg player, let me tell you. And meanwhile, we actually are going to be seeing Carl the Corruptor, only one Corruptor being on top of this army. You're going to see an additional couple going to be added on. We'll let you see a few more Vipers as well. Meanwhile, Fille is going to be moving out with his maxed out army. And where's all his army? Is this all his army? He's got 4 Colossus, a couple of Void Rays, and majorly Stalkers, and then a couple of Archons in there. Is this his entire army? Huh. It seems kind of small to me, guys. Anyway, we're going to be seeing Fille kind of positioned here to kind of move into his opponent's base. Meanwhile, Scribble is maxed out at this point, and is in pretty good position here. He's going to have a couple of Vipers out to help out. He's going to get one up to full with that. I don't even know what that ability is. And it doesn't show it on the top. So we're just going to say something. It's called something, guys. I'll look that up later at the cast. Fille going to be moving up towards this kind of strange pattern, to be perfectly honest. Looks like he might be wanting to go over to the 4th base over here. but honestly, I'd rather see him go into the third base area and try to go into the natural as opposed to try to push into this fourth base. Okay, seriously, guys, I swear that I have red on. Hopefully, that doesn't bother you guys. I swear I'm on red, so that should block messages. But anyways, Fille going to be going into this army over here. Actually going to be having a pretty bad engagement, actually. Scribble's not going to keep pulling the Colossus, but the Colossus are just going to go up on the army anyways. Needs to focus down the Colossus and then focus down the Void Rays, and instead he's just going to kind of fall over. Blinding Clouds are going to come out, but they're a little bit too late, and honestly, kind of misplaced, to be perfectly honest. 20 more on Roach's army macro. This base is going to fall, however. Carriers are even going to be added on for Scribble at this point. I'm sorry, added on for Fille at this point. Which is, it's interesting. I don't believe he has any upgrades on his air right now. Does he? Nope. So, the carriers aren't going to be quite as effective as he probably wants them to be. That being said, Fille's going to be pushing into this third base over here. And he's going to get a little bit of damage done here. He should be perfectly... Scribble should be perfectly fine against this. He has more than enough Hydras to be able to DPS out the rest of Fille's army. But now comes the problem, where we're seeing a couple of Zealots going to be worked in down here. It's going to that third base, but we're going to be seeing carriers on the field in a little bit, guys. And that means we're going to want to see Infestors, and we're going to want to see Corruptors. Infestors to fungal growth off the Interceptors, and of course, the Corruptors to be able to clean up the carriers. Some could argue that you even could do Mutalisks for that fact, but I don't necessarily agree with that. Meanwhile, we're seeing Crack coming up from our links, which is a pretty great thing to have happen. Fille actually being a little bit short on supply here. Only going to be warping in Zealots until those carriers get on the field, and there might just simply be too many Hydras for that to actually work. Meanwhile, we're going to see a couple of warpings of Stalkers going to be going out to take out this fourth base. Meanwhile, Scribble's kind of be microing oddly here to take out this fourth base. Meanwhile, Fille has a couple of additional Nexuses on the way. Hydras are going to be looking to take out those carriers. Could use to put a few more into this army, and definitely Corruptors, and definitely even Infestors as well, because as those carriers get higher in number, the Fungal Growths are going to become more and more key, unless he gets a lot of Hydralisks, or he just gets completely lucky with his micro. Yeah. Carriers are going to be tearing apart the army of Scribble, and Scribble's going to fall back here. Meanwhile, you do have those Stalkers moving in a little bit more to do a little bit more damage. We do have Roaches up on the map. Does that kind of help defend against that? Map that. Okay, well, I just did that almost subconsciously. Those are going to be taken care of, but we do see an additional couple of bases coming up from Fille at this point, which means he'll be in a pretty decent position once he gets those saturated. Scribble side of the field, definitely, like I said, more Corruptors. Love to see even Infestors added onto this field. And even, I would even say, put in some Cracklings in your opponent's base, because, hey, why not? You're Zerg. We know we're seeing Scribble going up into this third base down here, which, it's kind of not really a good engagement angle for him to be in, with those Hydralisks being so close to the army. We are going to be seeing a Storm come up on the army. One is going to miss, but we're going to be seeing a couple of additional ones going to be going down as well. We're going to be seeing Roaches and Lings going to be remicroed here, which isn't exactly what he needs. He needs more Corruptors, and he needs Infestors, and even lacking that, he needs Hydralisks. We're going to be seeing a Storm go down on the High Templar, which is just crazy. Meanwhile, we have another Storm coming up, blanketing the army, or rather what's left of it at this point. Scribble going to be going for the natural third, whatever the heck number base it is. He's actually even going to get it up the Nexus. Oh, he might get the Nexus. No, there's just simply too much DPS on the field against him. Well, yeah, Scribble definitely needs to grab Corruptors, Infestors, even Hydralisks at this point. Like, all three of them would be the perfect composition for him. Maybe even some Corruptors. I don't know if the Blinding Cloud works really well against the carriers, but that might be a good thing to see. I said Corruptors, but I meant Vipers, guys. We're going to see a huge amount of Archons going to be added into this army at this point, which means that Zerglings are going to be effectively useless at this point against these guys, but they were effectively useless against the carriers in the first place, so there's not too much to worry about there. Fille looking like he might be able to... Oh, no, never mind. He can totally afford not to take another gas there. A couple more Zealots are going to be coming up back into this 4th base. A couple more are going to be put into the 5th base. Going to be getting the Queen and quite a few units as well in the form of those drones. And Scribble is looking really tight on money here, guys. And he's going to be in a tough position here as this engagement comes out across the map. 69 to 187 supply. And there comes the GG from Scribble. Just not able to keep up with the Protoss player. So what's something that we can learn from this, guys? First of all, the sexual into carriers was not necessarily used, was not necessarily countered properly from our Zerg player. That's a big one. He wasn't able to have the units to counter the carriers, so he lost the game because he wasn't able to do that. Another thing that really was against the Zerg player here was Fille's great use of Zealot Warpins, Stalkers, and just generally units there to kind of harass the bases and force his opponent not to have the resources that he needs. I mean, look at how low Scribble is at the end of the game there, and that's just not where you want to be when you have a Protoss army in your main base trying to kill you. So that kind of stopped him from banking an army that was able to really do good against this. The Archons definitely would help against the Corruptors, but I definitely think that Infestor Corruptor would be the best bet against those carriers. Maybe even throw in some Roaches to help against the Archons. So one last thing, guys, before I leave you here. Bases. This is something that I see, and I know I've done it a few times in the past. The empty nexus. I shall hereby declare this the empty nexus. When you build a nexus, but don't have any workers on the mineral line next to it, because he's saturated and he's on 3 mining bases? Yeah, he's on 3 mining bases. And then he just has this nexus up here, which isn't really doing anything for his team. That's about 2 gateways, guys, and almost a third, or 4 pylons. So something I charge not just the Protoss player, but any race is, don't have the empty nexi. You don't want a base that isn't mining off of minerals next to minerals, because it's just not worth your while. I think that's going to be it, folks. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next cast.